Hi, Bighara here with another installment of my video blog. I was playing in a game yesterday. It was a Pathfinder game, actually, which was interesting. Not my usual, but it's a fun group. And I noticed something with one of the powers that one of the classes had that got me thinking. Basically, it was the equivalent of a smite evil kind of power, which is similar to what paladins and things have in some editions of the game. What I found interesting about it was the fact that it could affect anything of evil alignment, even if they weren't undead or demons or what have you. In this case, it was actually a pack of goblins. And while under the alignment rules in the game, there's no question that the goblins were evil, I found it sort of funny that this holy power or what have you would affect something that was relatively mundane. But that just sort of reflects my own thinking on alignment, which I've talked about in the past. But because this is what I apparently do, is think constantly about strange game roles, it got me thinking about alignment and evil and antagonists and motivation of antagonists. Balzac once said, "Behind every fortune lies a great crime." And that's a neat idea, the idea that anyone who is rich or powerful or both, at some point in their history, possibly even their ancestors' history, something pretty nefarious must have happened in order for them to have achieved that level of power. I'm always reminded of Firefly and in Janestown, one of my favorite episodes. They're all good, but that's one of them, where Mal is telling Jane at the end. It seems to me that anyone that's ever had a statue made of them must be some kind of an SOB or another. So there's a logic to that. The idea that to really break out of the mold and to achieve some sort of a greatness, you must take risks. You must do things that are maybe not, considered polite or even legal. Now, the flip side of that, when I'm writing adventures, either for publication or just for my group, one of the things I often try to think about is why the antagonists, whatever they are, like whether it's a monster or people or some sort of humanoid or supernatural thing, what is it that they're after? Why are they doing this? Why are they going to all this trouble? Why is the necromancer interested in, raising an army of the dead? Why is the dragon, doing, destroying the countryside, etc.? And just being evil doesn't really work for me as a motivation. Just to be bad for bad's sake, that's, unless you're mentally unbalanced, I don't really see that as something where you're going to do a lot of planning and execute some big scheme that, adventurer hero types are going to need to step in and try and save the day from. Sure, you could, be hurting people and things, and it'd be good to stop that, but I don't think it's typical. So there's a parallel to the Balzac quote, which is a classic detective mystery idiom, which is follow the money. The idea that if you're wondering what the motive of somebody is, follow the money and you'll figure it out. Now, in this case, I'm not necessarily talking specifically about cash, though in the case of a lot of people and creatures in a D&D type world, a big pile of gold might just be motivation enough, and you can leave it at that. But greed, or greed for power, lust for power, revenge, these are all great motivations. You've got, passion, revenge, greed. All these things are great, like I say, motives for the bad guys. Even the good guys sometimes. Sometimes the good guys want revenge. So, when you're figuring out why the bad guys are doing what they're doing, just the fact that their alignment is evil, I don't think you can stop there. I think you need to stop and say, no, the dragon is destroying the countryside because some hobbit stole a cut from his hoard, or um, the necromancer is raising an army of the dead because he has achieved his power and maybe he's been granted some limited immortality or an extended lifespan by some demonic pact, but in return he must collect and sacrifice 1,000 souls or something like that. Wait, gotta write that down. Just kidding. Anyway, but they have to have, for me, some reason for what they're doing beyond just, ooh, I'm a bad guy. So, likewise, I think it's fun to make the good guys not entirely good. In the idea that, the Baron wants to stop the hobgoblins from destroying the villages, sure, but he's also doing it to hold on to his own power. Of course, you can have just genuine good guys who just are altruistic and believe that, no, the innocents must be protected, justice must be served, and that's fine too, but I think it can be more interesting if you throw some of those more selfish motivations into the mix, because, not to sound cynical, I think those are the more believable. If someone walked up to you on the street and said, hey, how are you doing? You okay? Because I want to make sure you're okay. Because I care about you. Because you're a fellow human being. You'd be thinking, this guy's a lunatic. The guy came and said, hey, yeah, hey, you hungry? I'm selling this stuff, trying to raise money so I can, go to band camp. You're like, okay, well, all right, maybe I don't want the lousy candy bar, but you want $1 because you're trying to go to band camp. I have a motive, I understand now. It's like, okay, that's not greed, but it's, self-interest. So I guess all I'm saying is when you're designing an adventure, designing an enemy, think about that. Follow the money and find a reason that the PCs can understand and the players will believe, because that goes back to player buy-in, which I've also talked before. If they can understand the motive and they can get a fix on it, one, they're less likely to get confused, and two, they're going to, get more into the story because they can follow it that much better. That's all for now. Take it easy.